History of the Korean War, 1950 to 1953. The Korean War was a major conflict between North Korea and South Korea that began on June 25, 1950, and ended with an armistice on July 27, 1953. It was one of the first major conflicts of the Cold War. Background: after World War II ended in 1945, Korea, which had been under Japanese rule since 1910, was divided along the 38th parallel. The northern half was occupied by the Soviet Union, while the southern half was occupied by the United States. Two separate governments emerged, North Korea under Kim Il-sung, South Korea under Syngman Rhee. Outbreak of war. On June 25, 1950, North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel and invaded South Korea. The United Nations condemned the invasion and authorized military assistance to South Korea. A UN-led force, primarily made up of US troops, intervened to defend South Korea. Major events. 1. North Korean advance. June to September 1950, North Korean troops quickly captured Seoul and pushed South Korean and UN forces into a small area around Busan. 2. Incheon landing. September 1950, General Douglas MacArthur launched a surprise amphibious landing at Incheon. UN forces recaptured Seoul and pushed North Korean troops back toward the Chinese border. 3. Chinese intervention. October 1950, as UN forces approached the Yalu River, China entered the war with hundreds of thousands of troops. Chinese and North Korean forces drove UN troops southward, recapturing Seoul. 4. Stalemate. 1951 to 1953, fighting settled near the original 38th parallel. Both sides engaged in trench warfare, artillery battles, and negotiations. Armistice. On July 27, 1953, an armistice agreement was signed at Panmunjom. The agreement created the Korean Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, a heavily fortified border. No formal peace treaty was signed, meaning the two Koreas remained technically at war. Consequences: millions of soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded. The Korean peninsula remained divided into North and South Korea. The war intensified Cold War tensions between the United States, China, and the Soviet Union. South Korea eventually developed into a major democratic and economic power, while North Korea became a highly centralized authoritarian state. Timeline summary. Year event 1945, Korea divided after World War II. 1948, separate governments established in North and South Korea. 1950, North Korea invades South Korea. 1950, UN intervention and Incheon landing. 1950, Chinese forces enter the war. 1951 to 1953, military stalemate and peace talks. 1953, armistice signed, DMZ established. The Korean War is often called the Forgotten War because it receives less public attention than World War II or the Vietnam War, despite its lasting impact on East Asia and global politics.